An elderly woman stands in a supermarket aisle, staring at a price tag. Her hands tremble, not from age, from the calculation she just made in her head. Her fixed pension check, the one she worked 40 years to earn, now buys 60% less than it did 5 years ago. She's not poor because she failed to plan. She's poor because the plan was a lie. Cut to a graph. Birth rates plummeting across the developed world. Fertility rates below replacement in Japan, Europe, South Korea, and now America. Empty cradles, aging populations. A pyramid that's no longer a pyramid, but an inverted tombstone. They told you the money deducted from your paycheck every month was being saved for you. They lied. That money was spent the same day it was collected, sent directly to current retirees. And when your turn comes, you'll depend on workers who don't exist yet, from children that were never born. This isn't Social Security. This is history's largest Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi went to prison for this exact mechanism in 1920. But when governments do it, they call it policy. They call it a safety net. They call it retirement security. The truth? Retirement as we know it is dying. Not because people are lazy, not because markets failed, but because the world stopped producing the one resource this system absolutely requires to function. More young workers than old retirees. The mathematics have turned against us, and mathematics doesn't negotiate. Let's talk about how Ponzi schemes work, because understanding this will show you exactly why Social Security and pension systems worldwide are heading toward inevitable collapse. A Ponzi scheme is simple. Early investors get paid with money from new investors. As long as new money keeps flowing in faster than old money flows out, everyone's happy. The scheme works. People get their returns. They tell their friends. More people join. The pyramid grows. But there's a problem, a mathematical certainty. Eventually, you run out of new investors. The base of the pyramid stops expanding. And when that happens, the whole structure collapses. The last people in lose everything. Now look at Social Security. When it launched in 1935 and really took shape in 1945, the demographics were perfect for a Ponzi scheme. Average life expectancy was 61. Retirement age was 65. Most people paid in their whole lives and died before collecting. And those who did collect, they were supported by a massive base of young workers. In 1950, there were 16 workers paying into the system for every one retiree taking out. 16 to 1, the math worked beautifully. You could be generous with benefits because the pyramid had an enormous expanding base. Today, that ratio is 3 to 1. 3 workers supporting 1 retiree. By 2030, it'll be 2 to 1. In Japan, the crisis is already here. Adult diaper sales now exceed baby diaper sales. Read that again. They're selling more diapers for the elderly than for infants. That's not a statistic. That's a death certificate for their retirement system. The pyramid has inverted. The base is shrinking while the top expands. You can't run a Ponzi scheme with an inverted pyramid. It's mathematically impossible. Birth rates across the developed world have fallen below replacement level. America sits at 1.6 births per woman. You need 2.1 just to maintain population. Europe averages 1.5. South Korea hit 0.72, the lowest ever recorded for a developed nation. These aren't temporary dips. This is a structural, multi-decade trend. What does this mean for you? It means fewer workers will be supporting more retirees. It means the money coming in won't cover the money going out. It means the system, as designed, cannot survive. Not with reforms, not with tweaks, not with optimism. The math doesn't work anymore. But maybe you're thinking, I'm not counting on Social Security anyway. I have my 401k. I've been investing since I was 25. I'll be fine. Let's talk about how you ended up carrying that responsibility in the first place. Rewind to the 1960s and 70s. Back then, most large corporations offered defined benefit pensions. You worked for the company for 30 years, you retired, and the company paid you a set amount every month until you died. The company carried the risk. The company managed the investments. You just showed up, did your job, and your retirement was guaranteed. Then in 1978, a small provision was added to the IRS tax code, Section 401k. It was meant to be a supplemental savings vehicle for executives, but corporations saw an opportunity. Why carry the enormous liability of guaranteed pensions when you could shift that burden to employees? By the 1990s, the transition was complete. Defined benefit plans disappeared. 401ks became the standard. And here's what really happened. Corporations transferred all the risk from their balance sheets onto yours. Now your retirement depends entirely on your ability to pick the right investments, time the market correctly, save enough despite stagnant wages, and hope that the stock market continues its upward trajectory forever. You became your own pension fund manager. Except you have no training, no time, and your entire financial future depends on getting it right. This wasn't liberation. This was abandonment. And here's the trap they don't talk about. The 401k system created a massive, constant flow of money into the stock market. Automatic deductions from millions of paychecks flowing into index funds month after month, year after year. This passive buying pressure inflated asset prices regardless of underlying value. The market went up because it had to, because retirement money had nowhere else to go. But now the baby boomers are retiring. 10,000 people turn 65 every single day in America. And they're not buying stocks anymore, they're selling. They have to. They need that money to live. So ask yourself, when millions of retirees become forced sellers, and the younger generation is smaller, earning less, and drowning in student debt, who exactly is going to be the buyer? Who's going to maintain these inflated asset prices when the demographics reverse? Your 401k isn't a safe retirement vehicle. It's a bet that someone younger and poorer will pay more for your stocks than you did. That's not investing. That's the greater fool theory. And we're running out of fools. Let's put a date on this crisis. 2033. That's when the Social Security Trust Fund is officially projected to be depleted. Not might be, not could be, will be. According to the Social Security Administration's own trustees, this isn't conspiracy theory. This is their official financial projection. When the trust fund runs dry, the program will only be able to pay out what it collects in payroll taxes. And that will cover approximately 77% of promised benefits, which means automatic cuts of 23% to every recipient. Now governments face a choice, a political nightmare. Cut benefits by a quarter and face the wrath of millions of elderly voters, or find another way to cover the gap. Here are their realistic options. Option 1, cut benefits by 23%. Political suicide. Elderly voters show up at the polls religiously. No politician will survive announcing that grandma's check is getting slashed. Option 2, raise payroll taxes significantly. Also political suicide. You're asking a shrinking workforce already struggling with housing costs and student loans to pay even more to support a larger generation of retirees. Option 3, raise the retirement age to 72, 75, maybe 80. Let people work until they physically can't anymore, then give them a few years of benefits before they die. Cruel, but mathematically it helps. Still political suicide. Option 4, print money. The politically easy answer. The economically devastating answer. The inevitable answer. They'll choose option 4. They always do, because it's the path of least resistance. They'll create new money electronically and use it to cover the shortfall. Retirees will get their checks. Politicians will get reelected. Everyone's happy. Except for one small problem. That money is worthless. When you increase the money supply without increasing the production of goods and services, you get inflation. Not the official 2% kind, the real kind. The kind that destroys purchasing power. The kind that turns a fixed income into poverty. Your Social Security check will arrive every month, on time, in full. But it will buy cat food and not much else. Because inflation is the invisible tax, the politically convenient way to default on promises without admitting default. This is how governments have managed unpayable obligations throughout history. Print, inflate, destroy the value of the currency, and technically keep your promise while breaking it in real terms. You'll get your retirement. You just won't be able to afford to retire. So what do? How do you prepare for a system that's mathematically doomed but politically locked in place? First, understand this. Retirement isn't an age. It's a financial condition. It's the point where your assets generate enough income to cover your expenses without you working. Most people never reach that point. They just stop working and hope the government check covers the bills. That's not retirement. That's government dependency. Second, stop trusting institutions to solve this for you. The government can't fix the math. Your employer already shifted the risk to you. The stock market is a crowded trade, dependent on demographics that are moving against you. You're on your own. Third, focus on real assets and real skills. Things that hold value regardless of currency manipulation. Land, productive property, skills that generate income, businesses you control. These are inflation resistant. These can't be printed away. The people who will survive the coming retirement crisis aren't the ones with the biggest 401k balances. They're the ones who built systems that generate cash flow independent of Wall Street and Washington. They're the ones who own things that produce value in the real world, not just numbers on a screen. Fourth, expect lower. Expect your Social Security to be worth far less in real terms than promised. Expect your 401k to face a demographic headwind of sellers overwhelming buyers. Expect inflation to erode fixed income. Plan for a harder retirement than your parents had, because the mathematics guarantee it. And finally, understand the big picture. The social contract of the 20th century is breaking. The deal was work for 40 years, pay your taxes, and the system will take care of you when you're old. Now, that deal was only possible with expanding populations and growing economies. We no longer have either. The Ponzi scheme is ending, not because people are greedy or stupid, but because the pyramid ran out of base. And in every Ponzi scheme, the last people in always lose. The question isn't whether this system will collapse. The math guarantees it will. The question is, Will you be ready when it does? This is Finance Through Time. We follow the money so you can see the truth. Now I want to hear from you. When governments can't cover retirement promises, do you think they'll print money and create inflation, or will they cut benefits? Drop your answer in the comments. Inflation or cuts? Let's see what you predict.